Good morning.
Good morning.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Libby. I am a senior at Tallwood High School, and I've attended this church since 2015. I have a big blended family, you know, the one back there that takes up the whole row of chairs and a few extra. My mom is a part of the parish nurse team, and my dad and my other mom teach Sunday school. I've been active in the Sunday school program since I started attending this church, and I even went on the 2016 pilgrimage to Ireland. The best part about that trip was that I got to celebrate my birthday. I mean, it's pretty awesome to turn 16 in Dublin, Ireland. Well, that's enough about me. Now we're going to get to the fun part. In today's gospel, we heard the story of Jesus' baptism. This was a big change in his life, and it led to the start of his ministry. Sort of like a big turning point in his life. If you think about it, we've all had at least one major change in our life. Whether it be getting a new job, getting married, having children, or even moving to a new town. We can all relate to this story in one way or another. For me, one big turning point that hasn't actually happened yet is my high school graduation. On June 14th, I will walk across the stage and see about 400 people for the last time in my life. It's so crazy to me because I've spent 13 years with the same group of people, and in just a few short months, we're all going to be headed in different directions. Most of us, including myself, don't know where we're going to be in the next year. Some of us will go to college, some will be in the military, and some will go straight to the workforce. I know that I will be in college, but I'm not actually sure where I'm going to be. Out of the 9 schools I've applied to, I've received 7 acceptances and even been accepted to the honors program in my top school. In order for me to get to this spot in my life, I've had to go through quite a few struggles. I'm sure you're all very familiar with the story of Jesus, so I'm only going to explain it a little bit. He spent 40 days in the desert struggling to stay alive. He was tempted so many times by Satan, but he knew that God was with him and was not going to let him fail. Through his 40 days in the desert, he was able to prepare for his ministry. Even though he was tempted and tested by the devil, he made it out and was able to become an inspiration to so many people and prove that God was always with him. Like Jesus, I too had my own 40 days in the desert. The last 13 years of school have been to prepare me for my next step. 4 years of college and 4 years of medical school. I'm going to become a doctor, I just don't know exactly what kind I want to specialize in. I just know that I want to reach out and help people when they need it the most. So now, back to my 40 days in the desert. One of my hardest years of school for me was my junior year of high school. I decided to take a college-level history class. That was my first mistake. History has never been my favorite class, and then I had a teacher that had never taught history before, so it was a mess. I struggled all year trying to keep my grades up and scoring well on tests. And even though my final grade was not high, I did pass the class. Thanks be to God. Like Jesus was tempted in the desert, I was tempted to take the easy way out. I could have simply dropped that class and taken an easier one, but I decided that I was going to stick through it and make it work. At the end of that school year, we had to take the SOL test. If you don't already know, the SOL is a state test that everybody has to pass for certain classes. A passing score can range anywhere from a 400 to a 600. I scored a 400. Through my whole time in that class, I regularly received low test scores. But every once in a while, I would get a 95 or even a 100 on an assignment. At the time, I didn't really think much of it, but now I realize God was showing me that I could do it. Those random grades pulled my average up, and I was able to pass the class. That was one good thing that came out of that. Something else that came out of that was I learned how to study. I had never really needed to study for my classes before, but this one changed it. I read my notes and kept my head in that textbook every day to get me through to the end, and it only helped me. It gave me a sneak peek into what my life was going to be like when I get to college in the fall. And though it was difficult to figure out why I was struggling so much at the time, now I can look at it like this. When we are struggling, it's often hard to figure out why. We may think of things like, why isn't God helping me? why won't he fix this for me? Or even ask him, where are you, God? But after the struggle is over, we look back and we see it. God was there the whole time. He is always watching us and helping us. He is able to pull us away from the bad and toward the good, just like he did with Jesus in the desert and with me in my A-push class. So now, I want you to think about a time when you doubted God. Look back and think about where you struggled the hardest. And now think about these questions. Did you make it out of your situation? I mean, obviously you made it out. You didn't die. You're here with me. Did God speak to you in some way that you did not notice until maybe just now? Could you have ended up in a worse situation? You may not be able to answer all of these questions right now, but next time you are in the middle of something bad and you think God has given up on you, it may just be the beginning of the biggest change in your life. He is going to get you to where you need to be. Just listen for him. Like Jesus in the desert, you may be tempted by the devil to take the easy way out, but it is important to look for God's signs. Look and listen closely, and you will see God giving you a sign. It may be big or small, but it will lead you the right way. And if you are ever in doubt, always remember Psalm 46, verse 5. God is within her, and she will not fall. Amen.
Amen.